Rammstein. You probably heard it, you probably read about it, you probably don't care about it, but in my opinion, you still should. You should listen to it, you should watch those videos made of those single songs, and you just probably should get acquainted with this album. Why so? Because it's Rammstein and it's once again good. I got this album a little bit late. Probably the rest of the world has already reviewed it, and fans have already, much like me, listened to it a multiple of times. So I don't know what I can tell you about this without you actually knowing it already. Maybe and show you a little bit, and maybe a little bit get you curious. But I don't know. So let's just take a look how this Rammstein album looks like. You all saw this minimal image, just pure plain white and a match. Now there was speculation why Rammstein would go for a cover like this, which is, by the way, you can actually feel it. It is kind of seen as a kind of a commentary on their, say, love for flame, love for fire, and their pyrotechnics they have been using throughout their career, both on their music in the music videos as well as live, which are always very, very fun to see and actually feel again, get to see the flame. Now, still, this is kind of a peculiar cover for Rammstein being gone for 10 years. That is album-wise, not so much touring-wise, because I mean all the other covers, as I explained and showed to you also in my Rammstein worst to best video. I mean, totally different kind. They started with basic, very kind of a cheesy cover, guys without their shirts and all that stuff, and then they started to progress more, say, imaginative covers. And in my opinion, they have done some nice covers as well. So, artistic wise, this is a peculiar design, but then again, it's also something you just won't forget. Probably gonna be one of those iconic album covers throughout the history of rock and pop music. But what is inside? First of all, let's take a look on this fine design. It looks like a digipack, just average digipack, but when you actually figure out it's actually the kind of the similar size, but in a different way. Typical CD is just it's rather this way than this way. So it's kind of one of those weird mindfuckish kind of things. And obviously here we have the Tracklist, which you probably know already way too well. And this also keeps the minimal design as does this CD. Just, Rammstein logo there. Now it's in the proper way and nothing else. There's no imagery here, as you can see, just very simple design, and I kind of like it. But inside we have not only lyrics but also the band pictures, and this is not a typical booklet in the sense of just opening pages, but kind of a old schoolish way, because these kind of booklets are not that common anymore. As you can see, it's a one long slide basically, and it goes on through the other side as well, starting with the cover image, then once again the track list, then we have people of the band here, very stylish images as always. Everybody is bringing a little bit of their own identity with these pictures. So there you have it, Rammstein in its full glory, so to speak. Now, if this design of a CD is not your typical one, if it is more minimal and whatever, it's kind of a surprising. That's not with the music. Now, at least if you have any interest at all towards Rammstein, you've probably gone through the two first single songs. There will be more, in my as much as I have gathered, that is. But Deutschland came first, then Radio, and curiously enough, they are also the first tracks on this CD. Now, I'm kinda unhappy to say that Deutschland is my favorite track on this album, because it's very catchy, it's kind of a gloomy, and it's very Rammsteinish. And why I'm unhappy about it, it's because it opens the whole album, it opens nicely, but there are no better tracks, in my opinion, on the whole album. I mean, it's not a bad thing to have such a good song, obviously, but to start with, it's kind of disappointing when you know there's no reward towards the end. Now, some people like Radio the best even, probably, but in my opinion, it's one of the weaker tracks. It's, in my opinion, way too poppy track for, Rammstein, but, well, it's totally doable. One of the better tracks and more interesting tracks is the track number 3, Zeig dich, which has some orchestral elements. It's one of those which Rammstein is kind of known for, but then again, it's not a typical Rammstein track. And that is followed by Ausländer, which is very popish, very kind of a danceable song, which in my opinion could be, and probably would be, should be even, one of those single tracks. In my opinion, not of the better tracks, but I mean, it's very easy to approach. Then we have a track that was kind of a disappointing, Sex, because I was expecting Pussy Part 2, but unfortunately, Sex is not as catchy. It's just kind of like rather a filler track. Basic good Rammstein quality, but nothing more than that, in my opinion. And by the mid-time, you have reached Pooh Bear, which sounds like a not very kind of a badass song, but it's actually one of the most aggressive songs probably in Rammstein's history, and most aggressive song on this album. It's almost annoying at some points because while Till Lindemann does spectacular vocal work with that, with those vocals, that is, I think it's kind of annoying. But at least it's something that stands out from the rest. Now, towards the end, I think the album becomes more and less the same, both in good and bad. That is, no track whatsoever basically, stands out from the crowd. So it seems like the first parts of that album is more like a roller coaster, and towards the end, it just kind of calms down. And it's very easy to listen and easy to enjoy, but there are no highlight moments. Then again, no song whatsoever is kind of a letdowner. Pooh Bear might be a little bit of a debate there, like whether it's annoying, whether it's good, or just something else. Now, as a whole album, this Rammstein self-titled album, as it's called, it's kind of a divider. Probably needs lots of time to figure out the final spot in the Rammstein discography, but in my opinion, it's quite a safe bet. I would have expected way more kind of a bold way of Rammstein going. I mean, after 10 years, you have all the time in the world to create something out of ordinary, even with Rammstein scale. I mean, we have this Liebe album, which was then again also quite safe, but I mean, it had more different kind of aspects, facets, if you will. That, I mean, which kind of started with Mutter. So every album had this kind of a different angle, and they also had different ways to create a Rammstein sound. And now it seems this is like a Black album equivalent of Rammstein's career. Very minimal in design, but also very safe. Production, everything is just right there. There are no kind of off-road steps. There are no songs that are like, what in the hell was this made? And why is that there? I mean, with Rosenrot we got like Spanish singing and all that stuff. We had even ballads, But here it is more like as if this was more calculated. Maybe safe leftovers put together and all that stuff. But I mean, in the end, even though I might sound a little bit negative, I already got that from a written review. Like, why did you score 8 out of 10 if you're not that positive about that album? Should that have a lower score? And I'm like, no, man. I mean, I like it. The only reason why I'm a little bit negative was because I made this discography video prior to listening to this album fully. And that just reminded how excellent albums, not just good, but excellent albums like Rosenrot, Mutter, Reise, Reise, and the Liebe ist für, the Liebe ist für, what the hell is out? My German sucks. Well, Liebe ist für alle da is, they're also great albums. I'm not a big fan of Sehnsucht, in general, the early material, but I mean, like overall, this is a very solid album, but it doesn't surprise me at all, especially now that I heard Deutschland like weeks and weeks ago before the full album. So overall, I just want to, make sure you understand. I like this album. It's solid and it will definitely go to my shelf. It's not like I'm like, oh, disappointment, just give it to a friend or whatever. I was just expecting more. And people are disappointed because of their own expectations, not what the actual factual things are. So I was expecting something more bold, more brave, Rammstein of an album. And I got delivered a nice way, but that's about it. So if you're still wondering whether or not you should be listening to Rammstein because you've heard the single songs and maybe not the rest, I think you should give it a go. But then again, if you're already a Rammstein fan, you probably know it all the way through, and my review is very, very little to give you any kind of information except my own opinion about it. And if you're a hater, well, this album won't change a thing. This won't be a seller like, if you never ever before liked Rammstein, this will change your world. It won't. This is Rammstein's Black Album, in my opinion, both good and bad. And, well, there you have it. Maybe Deutschland is Rammstein's Enter Sandman in the future. Who knows? But, well, glad to have Rammstein back. And let's just keep our thumbs up that this won't be the last album like some rumors were already going. Anyhow, thank you for watching the video, and as always, should you have any comments, questions, whatever, just put them on the comment box below and I'll get back to you. See ya!